Everybody loves good homemade chocolate chip cookies. Hi, my name is Lindsay, and I am a sophomore at the University of West Georgia. For as long as I can remember, I have been watching my family bake chocolate chip cookies, and I eventually learned how to bake them myself. Chocolate chip cookies are delicious, and they are very easy to bake. Today, I am going to explain how to bake chocolate chip cookies. I am going to explain what materials are needed, what ingredients are needed, the steps for putting it all together, and the baking and cooling process. First, I'm going to give an overview of the materials you will need to bake chocolate chip cookies. The recipe I will be describing today is the Nestle Toll House Original Chocolate Chip Cookie recipe. This is my all-time favorite one. First, you will need measuring cups and measuring spoons for both wet and dry ingredients. Second, you will need one small mixing bowl and one large mixing bowl. You may use an electric mixer if you have one, but it will be okay if you do not. Then, you need a fork or a spoon for mixing the dry ingredients. You will also need at least one baking sheet with parchment paper, but for this recipe, I recommend having at least 2 or 3 on hand. Lastly, you will need one regular tablespoon, a spatula, and a wire cooling rack. Next, I'm going to list out the ingredients needed for making this recipe. The first thing to do is go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That way it has plenty of time to start heating up. You need 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. You also need 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. According to bobsredmill.com, it is important to make sure that you remember baking soda when making these cookies, because the baking soda is what gives them their nice, chewy texture that we like so much. If you forget the baking soda, the cookies will come out hard and flat. It is also important to make sure that you do not confuse baking soda and baking powder. This recipe has to have baking soda. Then you will need 1 cup of butter, which is equal to about 2 sticks. It is best if the butter is already softened or if it is at room temperature. Then you will need 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, and you will also need 3/4 of a cup of packed brown sugar. Lastly, you will need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 large eggs, and 2 cups of chocolate chips. 2 cups of chocolate chips is equal to about 1 package or a package and a half of chocolate chips. Now, I'm going to explain how to use all of the materials to put the ingredients together. First, in your small mixing bowl, use your fork or spoon to mix the flour, salt, and baking soda together. Then, in your large mixing bowl, use your electric mixer or spatula to beat the butter, sugar, brown sugar, and vanilla extract until it is nice and creamy. Then in your large mixing bowl, add in 1 egg at a time. It is important to make sure that the first egg is well beaten in before adding in the second one. The next step is to combine the ingredients. So you're going to take the dry ingredients from the small mixing bowl and add them to the ingredients in the large mixing bowl. Here we are combining our wet and dry ingredients. After these ingredients are mixed together and combined completely, take the 2 cups of chocolate chips and use your spatula to mix them all in. Last to discuss is the baking and cooling process. The oven has already been preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, so that is out of the way. First thing to do is on each of your baking sheets, put a piece of parchment paper down. The parchment paper is important because it helps the cookies not stick to the pan. It makes it easier to slide them right off in your spatula when they are done baking. Then, you're going to use your regular tablespoon to place the cookie dough in equal sized drops on the pan. If you have an ice cream scooper, people find it easy to use that as well when dropping the cookie dough, but if you don't have one, a regular tablespoon works just fine. It is also important that when you put the cookie dough on the pan, you spread them out evenly. That way, when they are baking, they have plenty of room to expand. Then, you are going to bake the cookies for about 9 to 11 minutes. It is important to check the cookies at 9 minutes to make sure that they are not burning. What we want to see here is a nice golden brown color. After you take the cookies out of the oven, let them sit on their pan that they came out of on for about 1 to 2 minutes, just so they can retain their shape. Then, after you let them sit for a minute or two, use your spatula to move them from the pan to the wire cooling rack. According to Better Homes and Gardens magazine, it is important to let the cookies cool on the rack, because if you don't, the cookies will continue to bake on the hot pan that they came out of on the oven, because the pan is still hot. On the wire cooling rack, air can circulate underneath the cookies, allowing them to cool faster. In conclusion, you should now know how to bake chocolate chip cookies. The next time you go to an event, you can bring some delicious chocolate chip cookies with you. I have explained what ingredients are needed, what materials are needed, how to put them all together, and the steps for baking and cooling. Chocolate chip cookies are delicious, and they are very easy to bake. And now, I challenge you to try and make some. Thank you.